The second I turned into my driveway after lunch, a tight feeling settled in my chest. Something wasn't right. The oversized double doors of my workshop were standing wide open, and right there, parked squarely between my metal fabrication tables, was a spotless white Lexus SUV. Its vanity plate read HOA. I didn't need to think twice about who owned it. Patricia Holloway had crossed the line again, and this time, she'd sprinted past it. I walked over to my toolbox without a word, ignoring the smug satisfaction that almost sensed coming from her kitchen window next door. My hands moved automatically, lifting the welding mask and torch, as if muscle memory were taking over. No more warnings. No more forced politeness. Today, Patricia was going to learn what happens when you shove a metalworker past the point of restraint. The acetylene torch flared to life with a sharp, satisfying hiss. By the time Patricia realized what I was doing, the first door was already sealed shut with a flawless ribbon of molten steel. Her scream cut through the afternoon air, echoing down the block, but I merely adjusted my mask and stepped toward the second door. 20 minutes later, the workshop had become an impenetrable vault. Her $60,000 Lexus sat entombed inside, frozen in place like some twisted piece of contemporary art. I loaded my gear into my truck and headed straight for the airport. My trip to Costa Rica suddenly felt perfectly timed. Let me rewind and explain how things reached this point. My name is David Brennan, and I've worked as a professional metal fabricator for 15 years. 2 years ago, after years of saving, I finally built the workshop I'd always dreamed of behind my home in Pine Ridge Estates. It was my refuge, a place to craft custom commissions for clients and disappear into the rhythm of shaping steel. Everything about it was by the book. The permits were approved, inspections passed, and the design blended seamlessly with the neighborhood, complete with cedar siding and architectural accents that mirrored my house. Then came Patricia Holloway. She'd recently been elected HOA chair after running a campaign centered on restoring order and protecting property values. Patricia was the type who measured lawn height with a ruler and issued citations over mailboxes that were the wrong shade of beige. Less than a week into her term, she decided that my workshop was an unacceptable blemish that needed to be removed. At first, the harassment was subtle. Official-looking violation notices began appearing on my door, claiming my building broke covenants that simply didn't exist. When I responded with copies of my permits and written HOA approval from 2 years earlier, she shifted tactics. Suddenly, there were noise complaints, even though I worked only during approved hours and had installed sound dampening insulation during construction. Then came the parking stunts. Patricia started leaving her Lexus directly in front of my workshop doors, insisting she was conducting inspections for potential violations. The first time, I politely asked her to move. The second time, I contacted the HOA board, who vaguely suggested she had investigative authority. By the fifth incident, I'd begun documenting everything with security cameras installed around my property. From there, things spiraled fast. Patricia spread rumors at HOA meetings, accusing me of running an illegal operation, creating fire risks, and dragging down home values. She filed bogus complaints with the city, each one forcing me to miss work to meet inspectors who, without fail, found nothing wrong. She even enlisted her friend Sandra Morrison to back up fabricated noise reports, and together they turned daily life into a grind. The final straw snapped on a Tuesday morning. I showed up at my workshop and found the doors not just blocked, but thrown open with Patricia's Lexus parked inside. Somehow, she'd obtained my spare key, likely through the property management company where her sister worked. A laminated sign sat on the dashboard, declaring the space was being reclaimed as communal property pending HOA review. I photographed everything, every angle, the note, the license plate. Then I called my lawyer, who confirmed what I already knew. The workshop was mine, legally built and fully permitted, and Patricia had committed criminal trespassing and breaking and entering. But he also warned me that pressing charges would be slow, costly, and probably result in little more than a slap on the wrist for her. That's when I chose a different solution. If Patricia wanted to pretend my workshop was a communal space, I'd secure my property exactly the way I saw fit. I spent the next hour welding every possible entrance shut with meticulous precision, the main double doors, the side door, even the windows. Each weld was clean, solid, and unbreakable, the kind of work any metal craftsman would admire. I left narrow ventilation gaps, because I'm not cruel, just someone who'd finally had enough. Her precious Lexus wasn't leaving without heavy equipment and serious destruction. Before heading to the airport, I took 3 final steps. First, I uploaded the security footage to the neighborhood Facebook group with a brief note explaining I'd secured my workshop against trespassers and would be back in 2 weeks. Second, I sent a certified letter to the HOA board formally notifying them that their chair had committed breaking and entering. Third, I activated my automatic sprinkler system, fully aware that the spray would miss through the ventilation gaps I'd left behind. Costa Rica delivered exactly what I needed: clear blue water, flawless weather, an unreliable internet that I absolutely didn't use to monitor the neighborhood Facebook page erupting with comments, photos, and increasingly frantic posts from Patricia. According to my neighbor Tom Garrison, who kept me looped in through messages, my house had become the main attraction of Pine Ridge Estates. Patricia's confidence evaporated within hours, replaced by panic that spread just as fast as the gossip. She'd gone straight to the police, who arrived only to hear her admit out loud that she had broken into my workshop and parked there without permission. The officers explained, patiently and with visible restraint, that I was fully within my rights to secure my own property, and that she was fortunate I hadn't pursued trespassing charges. They couldn't compel me to fly home early to free her vehicle, and they absolutely weren't going to damage private property to retrieve it. The HOA board rushed into an emergency meeting where Patricia demanded they cover the cost of industrial cutting tools to liberate her Lexus. That demand didn't land the way she expected. Board member Robert Dalton calmly pointed out that she had acted independently, without authorization, and had very likely dragged the HOA into serious legal exposure. When the vote was called, the motion failed 5-1, with only Sandra casting a vote in her favor. By the third day, the story escaped the neighborhood and landed in the local news. HOA chair trapped by her own rules became the feel-good headline of the week. Reporters interviewed amused residents and legal analysts who all confirmed the same thing: I'd broken no laws. Patricia hired an attorney who sent me aggressive cease and desist letters, which my lawyer responded to with great enthusiasm and detailed reminders about her criminal trespassing. Tom's updates became daily entertainment. Patricia tried to hire metalworkers to cut her car free, but strangely, everyone in the region suddenly became unavailable once word traveled through our professional circles. She attempted to smash one of her own windows to retrieve personal belongings, only to discover that exiting a car inside a sealed building didn't actually solve anything. Online reactions shifted from outrage to outright ridicule. Someone created a countdown clock for my return. Another neighbor designed a bingo card tracking Patricia's daily breakdowns, including calls police again, threatens lawsuit, and screaming at the workshop. Local teens nicknamed the structure the Lexus Memorial Art Gallery and posed for selfies in front of it. Meanwhile, 2 full weeks passed in blissful tropical calm. I read welding journals, sampled unfamiliar cocktails, and even finalized designs for upcoming commissions. The spa day was exceptional. It was deeply relaxing knowing that back home, Patricia's $60,000 symbol of authority was quietly aging in what she'd declared communal space. My return flight touched down on a Saturday afternoon, perfectly aligned with the neighborhood barbecue I'd announced before leaving. Tom made sure the word spread. When I pulled into my driveway, nearly half of Pine Ridge Estates was already assembled, lawn chairs out, coolers open, grins barely concealed. Patricia stood off to the side, her usually immaculate appearance unraveled, exhaustion etched beneath her eyes. I greeted the crowd and theatrically inspected the exterior of my workshop, openly admiring the quality of my welds while Patricia shook with barely contained fury. With dramatic flair, I ignited the cutting torch and began carefully removing each seal. The crowd watched in reverent silence as I worked slowly, ensuring every cut was clean and repairable. When the last weld gave way, I pulled the doors open to reveal the Lexus, coated in dust and condensation. The windows were fogged, and the driver's side were clear signs of her failed escape attempt. The coconut air freshener I'd hung before leaving gently scented the air. Patricia lunged forward, her face cycling through shades of red I'd only ever achieved using specialized metal patinas. She jammed the key into the ignition and reversed only to stall halfway out. 2 weeks of interior lights had drained the battery nearly dry. The laughter started as a ripple and swelled into a roar as Patricia reluctantly asked Tom for jumper cables. Even Sandra struggled to suppress her grin. When the Lexus finally crawled free, Patricia avoided every gaze around her. Monday brought the final reckoning. The HOA board convened a special meeting and called for a vote of no confidence. The board president listed her violations: abuse of authority, criminal trespassing, and reckless legal exposure. The vote was unanimous, with even Sandra choosing to abstain. Patricia resigned within the hour. By Wednesday, a for sale sign appeared on her lawn. Court records showed she spent $18,000 on legal fees trying and failing to sue me. Repairs to the Lexus added another $3,000. That evening, I mounted the final addition to my workshop, a custom steel sign reading, "Private Studio." Unauthorized parking will be professionally secured. The new HOA board approved it unanimously. As I welded it in place, I saw Patricia through her window, packing boxes with the defeated posture of someone who'd learned an expensive lesson. She moved out 3 weeks later. The closing was handled by her realtor. Patricia never showed her face again. The new neighbors were a young couple who loved the creative energy of living next to a metalworker. They even commissioned a custom garden gate. Since then, Pine Ridge Estates has been peaceful. The HOA focuses on actual improvements instead of power plays. My workshop is once again my sanctuary, now reinforced with steel doors and full camera coverage. And somewhere in another suburb, Patricia Holloway is hopefully reconsidering where she parks. The $18,000 she spent trying to sue me nearly paid for my Costa Rica vacation. Nearly.